throw the floor open for nomination for chair.
I will not run, if elected, I will not serve.
Okay?
Let's see, I think we got some minutes in.
And we're gonna do this, do those after we elect officers. Good. All right, floor's open for nomination for chairman of this.
Mr. Chairman, I nominate Mr. Reuben Gardner for chairman.
Okay? Nomination, Mr. Gardner. Any other nominations?
I nominate, Robert Golly.
Okay. All right. Other nominations? And we're both good. We're both good with whatever y'all do. We're both good. Okay, close. Do I have a motion to close the floor?
I don't move.
So moved.
Second.
All right, second. All right, well, let's vote. All in favor of Mr. Gardner for chair, please raise your right hand. Okay. All in favor of
Which way is that?
Can I just not vote?
No, you can't not.
Okay.
All right, now, let's see, that was for Mr. Gardner. For Mr. McAuley, raise your right hand. Okay.
You want?
Okay, very good. Mr. Gardner, you are chair. You got it. You got it.
Delegation of authority, can I appoint you to chair this meeting today?
Yes, you can.
Thank you.
And, all right, we need to elect the vice chair. Open the floor for nominations for
I
vice chair.
nominate Roman Colley.
Okay, McAuley nominated.
I'll second.
All right, any
I'm
other
gonna
nominations?
close the floor.
Any other nominations? Motion to close the floor. All right, all in favor of McAuley as vice chair, indicate by raising your right hand, please. All right. Okay, good deal. Right, the chairman is asking the vice chair to meet today, and I will do so. We have a set of minutes from November 17, 2011, and January 19, 2012. I had a couple of minor things which Ms. Morgan has fixed. Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman, I move we accept the minutes as sent out,
Okay.
as corrected.
Okay. Motion to accept minutes.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gardner. Motion by Mr. Hall. All in favor of approval of those two sets of minutes indicate by raising your right hand, please. That motion carries unanimously. Thank you. We have no old business. Under new business, preliminary plat, Davis Family Plat 1, located on Corley Road, owner Warren Davis, engineer representative Jeff Coat, engineer. Mr. Jeff Coat, show us what you got, please.
Okay. This is 5 lots. It would be double frontage except that on County Road 4 and on Corley Road, except that there's a prohibition against entering on County Road 4. And we have added a note to that effect. It says lots 1, 2, 3, and 5 are denied and restricted from access to public right-of-way of County Road 4. No further access or drive to Lot 4 is allowed other than existing drive. No new drive will be allowed for Lot 4. However, we've centered on Lot 4 has an existing drive right here, and the client says he'd like to keep it as paved. It's the only place along here that you could circus because the others are so steep. But he said if that's the only thing that keeps it from getting this plat approved, we'll let that go and block that driveway off. But he sure would like to keep that driveway on Lot 4 that's been existing for a long time. And the notes have been prepared along those lines. But if you see that it's necessary to approve it by having none at all along County Road 4, then the client would be in favor of that. We looked at some notes that planning and engineering has given us. They asked about a stormwater plan. Now, this is existing land that's not proposed to put any streets in there at all. There are two double wide trailers right here on it. And, a lot of this is an old clay pit that's flat up on the top, and then it's straight down steep on the County Road 4. So, and it's vegetated, a lot of trees and grass and so forth, and it's proposed that there be no significant grading, except maybe to get a driveway into units. This is, like I say, to be a dispersing of land to next of kin. And on this one, that I brought copies for Joel today, is the names of the lots by which each individual is proposed to get them, will have. So it's not the normal or standard plat, it's a subdividing of land for the purpose of bona fide gift to the next of kin. And, the only utilities involved, you got electrical and telephone already serving these, but you got a water line in County Road 4 that already has water laterals going to these two, and at such time that these other 3 lots were developed, they'd have to get water lateral and pay for it and run it up through there too. There is no water main in Corley Road. So, like I say, this is quite different. Let me see if there's anything else I can add, but that's about it, unless y'all got questions or comments that I can help with.
All right, let us do the public hearing part of this, and we'll get it before us, and then we'll ask some questions. This is a preliminary plat, and as such, requires public hearing. You've heard the presentation. This is a subdivision of a plot of land over on Corley Road in County 4. Is there any public comment for or against the proposed preliminary plat? Okay, hearing none, we will close the public hearing. If we can get this before us, Mr. Hall, please, sir.
See if I can find it. Number 1.
One.
Okay, thank you, yes. Preliminary plat, Davis Family Plat 1, February 15, 2012. Whereas Warren Davis is owner of Davis Family Plat 1, and whereas the proposed development is located inside the city limits on Corley Road, and whereas the required city departments have reviewed and commented on the proposed preliminary plat. Now therefore it be resolved that the City of Prattville Planning Commission hereby gives its favorable review of the submitted preliminary plat of Davis Family Plat 1. Mr. Chairman, I move we adopt this resolution.
Motion by Mr. Hall, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nelson. Okay, Mr. Duke, city's thoughts, please, sir?
Yes, sir. You have a copy of the city's staff review comments in the letter that was sent to Mr. Jeffcoat, and I believe he alluded to that a couple of times in his presentation. As a preliminary plat or a subdivision, generally there are things that are expected, or items that are expected to be covered by the subdivider, unless some type of variance is granted by the planning commission. In regards to stormwater, we were asking to see, we're looking to see how stormwater would be handled in this case. There are a couple of drainage ways that come across this property, and have been somewhat of an issue for the county, going underneath County Road 4. Primarily what we're looking for is some description of the use of the land, if that's possible. It might give us some indication of what type of runoff, volume of runoff that might be present on this property. Utility plans, obviously this property is too far from sanitary sewer for that to be an expectation, but it is customary or is required by your regulations that the subdivider install or make provision for public waters. So that's the reason for that comment. Access to Corley Road, the existing access is understandable. Access to County Road 4, that's understandable, but future access for these additional lots, it would be preferable if it came off of the side street, which is Corley Road, rather than County Road 4. That's good access management, which y'all have practiced in the past. And while today County Road 4 is not very busy, given the future uses on that road, industrial park, other subdivisions, it's likely the traffic will increase. So your access management policies need to be extended here and look to have access only off the side street rather than the main road, which is County Road 4. With that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Okay. If I heard right, Mr. Jeffco addressed the access, I believe, and didn't address the stormwater. Did I hear that? I heard that he thought he didn't have to.
Typically, it's just a question that it sounds a little bit like Mr. Jeffco may have done that to our satisfaction as far as the uses of the property. This piece of property is outside the city limits, so there can be just about as many uses as somebody could come up with. You're really only regulating the division of the lots. If somebody wanted to divide it further, of course, they have to come back to you, but if they wanted to put multiple houses on one lot, they can do that.
Okay, that corrects something I thought, because the resolution says inside the city limits, and I believe I thought that was not correct. Okay, we'll have to fix that. We shall fix that. Okay.
So, as far as stormwater is concerned, I'm not sure that's a major concern. If you would provide some direction that might be put on the plat about avoiding existing or modification of the existing drainage ways, to cut down on erosion, that, again, there's not much we can do to enforce that, but it could be added to the plat, so it's noted. As some comment by the commissioner.
Yes, I'm in favor of this with as long as it don't enter into County Road 4, because that would be, we'd be disservice to everybody who can connect with this if we did that.
Yes.
Use the existing entrance is fine.
Okay, Mr. Gardner?
Yeah. Jeff, please.
Yes.
What is the intent of this property?
We will be bound by, I'll say my client just told me that'd be nothing but residential. No, and that, be happy for that to be in your resolution or on the plat.
Would you have a stormwater management program in place by the time you think that they probably wanted to put some residential units on these properties?
Well, I don't know what to manage because we're not gonna do anything. You know, it's in a stable condition right now, and we're not gonna have a grading plan. There's not gonna be any grading. And if you wanna protect that by having an adequate note on the final plat in the courthouse, we can do so.
Mr. Chair, and I apologize, I should have mentioned this before. As y'all set up at your last meeting, this is the first meeting that's being recorded to go on the city website. So if you could ask anybody speaking, at least to stand here, otherwise they're just some kind of disembodied voice on the camera. So
All right.
I'm sorry.
that's all right.
Thank you, Mr. Yes, y'all feeling your best behavior around town. If I heard all this right, and y'all correct me, is that we think this is okay, but we need to amend it to correct the outside the city limits instead of inside. And I think we can just put in the caveat of our approval that access is from Corley Road.
That's right.
And
For the 3 additional lots. I mean,
4 additional.
well, there's one existing entrance. We're gonna let the existing road stay in place? Or-
We'd like for it to, but don't want that to.
I don't have a problem with existing road staying.
I think that's fine. And the other one is it's something that I don't know that we can can absolutely manage that because of the way it is, but we can stipulate that at further development won't change the stormwater flow from the curb. And fourthly, we can stipulate that the development be residential. I guess there's a question, can we legally bind that, given as it is?
Single family residential.
I don't think,
I don't think we can because it's
If we
outside.
agree to put it on plat, that'll do the same thing to you.
That's correct. If they include it on the plat, that will work fine. You could certainly make that as a requirement. It is somewhat questionable as to whether or not you have the tools outside the city limits to enforce that.
Okay, all right. Okay, if I said all that correctly, I need an amendment for those four things from somebody, please.
before we do that, may I
Yes, sir.
comment? I
Yes,
don't think
Tom.
we need that. This gentleman here has been with us for a long, long time, and his word is good. I don't think there's any doubt that what he's saying is gonna happen. And I just go along like it is. Of course, I have the right to vote against any amendment.
Well, I'm just an engineer, I don't have any, I appreciate what you said, but I don't have any ownership, and things could change. If I was sitting where y'all were, I would want those.
Okay.
Put it on plat.
All right, that's good.
Okay, all right. I need a proposal for the amendment.
I make that proposal to the end.
Motion by Mr. Hall, and I have a second by Mr. Smith, and that amendment is that the plat will show access from Corley Road only. The residential development the planned development will be residential, that any development, stormwater flow through the property doesn't change. And the fourth one was
The
what?
existing road can stay.
The existing road can stay,
Residential.
seems like there was one more.
Oh, yeah, the city limits.
If it's in this,
And correct the resolution that we read from inside to outside city. Okay.
you said if it's any substantial drainage change too.
Yes.
Okay.
Either
Ms.
way.
Morgan, you got all that, you think? Okay.
Did
All
we?
right, have an amendment before us.
Make a comment?
Yes, Mr. Hall, please.
This resolution that we passed, or going to pass, did you make a note that it's not within the city limits?
Yes, that's one of the amendments, is to correct that.
Yes.
You make a motion to correct it?
Yes, the amendment to correct that and the other things is before us. Okay, any other discussion? All in favor of the proposed amendment, please indicate by raising your right hand. That motion carries unanimously. We have the amended motion in front of us for the preliminary plat of Davis Family Plat 1. Any other discussion? All in favor of the amended preliminary plat, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jeffcoat. The next item of business is the final plat, Davis Family Plat 1, located on Corley Road. Owner Warren Davis, engineer representative, Jeffcoat, engineer. Let's get that before us. Mr. Smith, please.
Resolution, final plat, Davis Family Plat 1, February 15, 2012. Whereas Warren Davis is the owner of Davis Family Plat 1, and whereas the proposed development is located as amended outside the city limits of Corley Road, and whereas the preliminary plat was approved on February 15, 2012, and whereas the required city departments have reviewed and commented on the proposed plat, now therefore be it resolved that the City of Prattville Planning Commission does hereby give its favorable review of the submitted final plat of Davis Family Plat 1 as amended. So amended.
Motion by Mr. Smith,
Second.
second by Mr. Nelson. Any further discussion? We did correct the inside to outside, I believe, in Mr. Smith's reading. Okay. All in favor of approval of final plat, Davis Family Plat 1, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Item 3, replat of Avalon Place, Plat 7, located on MLK Boulevard. Owner Claude Walker, Avalon Properties, Prattville LLC, engineer representative Jeff Cook and Associates. they have requested that that be pulled from the agenda, and will so be done. Item 4, preliminary plat, Lynbrook subdivision, Phase 2, located off of Old Ridge Road. Owner Larry and Diane Avant, engineer representative Barrett Simpson, Blake Rice. Mr. Rice, would you tell us what we got, and then we'll do the public hearing.
We do have the preliminary plat for the second phase of Lynbrook subdivision. I believe it's 114 lots. I may have that, I'm going to be off of that a lot or two. Y'all have an approved sketch plan on this piece of property, and we have submitted the preliminary plat and received comments back from staff, and have since the majority of the comments have been addressed. There were a couple that we had questions about, and still are going to require one meeting with Robbie Anderson, the city engineer, but he and I have spoken. It's really not a big deal. We just got to sit down and figure out how to fix one thing, but just wasn't time with the accelerated schedule of this meeting. So that is where we are right now.
All right. This is a proposal for the second part of Glenbrook, 114 lots. Okay, this, Mr. Duke, you want to say some more before we do the public hearing part?
No, sir, I just wanted to ask that the item number 2 under the second whereas in the resolution, it's time to read that, just skip over that, that is inaccurate.
Item number 2.
Okay. All right. Yep, I can do that. All right, we have this proposed subdivision. This is a public hearing. Are there any comments concerning the proposed subdivision for or against? Or questions? That's a good time to.
I'm Barry Fagan. I'm a resident of Glenbrook subdivision, phase 1, lot 787 Glenbrook Boulevard. One comment, I would ask that the developer take care in how construction traffic enters and exits the existing subdivision, phase 1. There are 24 children living in about 10 lots on a short segment of Glenbrook that I understand will be the entry and exit point for not only the grading vehicles, but also the bigger concern will be the home construction. So if there's any way to provide a temporary construction entrance and exit that doesn't involve the main boulevard to the subdivision, it'd be greatly appreciated by the existing homeowners.
Thank you, Mr. Fagan. Okay. Other comments?
This is going to be just single family residence, no apartments.
Yes, this is all single family. It is.
You're not going to come back later and ask to put apartments in part of it, are you?
No, sir. This is an exact replica of what is in Glenbrook Phase 1, same zoning, same types of homes.
Thank you.
Any other comments as far as public hearing? All right, hearing none other, we will close the public hearing. We can get that resolution in front of us. Chief, please, sir.
Resolution preliminary plat, Glenbrook subdivision, phase 2, February 15, 2012. Whereas Stone Martin Builders is the developer of Glenbrook subdivision, phase 2, and whereas proposed development is located off Old Ridge Road on the north side of River Chase North subdivision, south of Pendlebrook subdivision, west of Glenbrook subdivision, phase 1, and whereas proposed development is located outside the city limits. Number 3, the sketch plan was approved on November 1, 2011 with contingencies, and whereas the required city departments have reviewed and commented on the proposed preliminary plat, now therefore be it resolved that the City of Prattville Planning Commission hereby gives its favorable review of the submitted preliminary plat of Glenbrook subdivision, phase 2.
Did I have do I have a motion for approval?
Second.
I don't have a motion yet. Motion by Mrs. Nelson, okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Duke? I guess I get either one. I guess Mr. Rice, can you help Mr. Fagan out with construction traffic?
Yes, sir. I, regrettably, Mr. Fagan, there is no other viable entrance to the subdivision. All I can do is caution all the grading and the home contractors of the situation, but there really is no other viable access point.
Will there be an opportunity to go to the south of the existing subdivision, since it's currently not as developed as the main entrance of the subdivision, come out through one of the southeast lots?
No, sir. I really wish there was, and it would make everybody's life a great deal easier. But that large drainage channel in between, Glenbrook Boulevard was scheduled to be the main road through the development. And now part of that will be, that secondary crossing is scheduled to be made in the third phase of development. I think it's like 30 lots. Now at that point, I believe the home construction would be, the developer and home builder would probably be willing to ask all his traffic to go through that way.
No chance of a temporary crossing of that?
The topography won't allow it at this point.
I disagree with that.
Well, it's just no way with the types of hills that are there to get large equipment through there.
I disagree with that.
Okay, Mr. Duke?
As Mr. Rice has stated, this proposal for 115, as you see it on the plat, buildable lots. Some of those are what would typically be zoned R5, and 27 of them, the rest of them, the 88 lots, would be typically zoned R3. This property is currently located outside the city limits. As part of their proposal to build it like it's in the city limits, and seek annexation after the city's annexation moratorium was lifted in November of this year. As you recall, that moratorium was in place, or was put in place by the city council, so that they would not be able to deal with the election without having petitions for annexation, or possibly having annexations added that would then require them to resubmit a redistricting plan to the Justice Department. And so this is proposed to be built as if it's in the city limits and then annexed when they're able. They have petitioned the city council for sanitary sewer access, which council approval would be required since they're outside the city limits. That's still pending before the city council. I expect that they would address it at their meeting next week.
Is there any reason they shouldn't approve it?
That there is no reason that I can tell at this point. There's adequate capacity in that basin. If they were in the city limits, that extension would be automatic. They may put some conditions on the extension. And at the time that if there are houses on the system before it's annexed, then they will pay a higher rate, they'll pay a higher impact fee. So I think the construction, if approved in the next couple of meetings, will kind of correspond with the end of the moratorium. So they should be, they will start building by the time they can get annexed. The city's major concerns have to do with, first of all, the phasing that's proposed. The street layout, the lot layout, currently matches the sketch plan that was approved, so those issues have been dealt with, but the phasing of which segments of that subdivision get built at what point is a major concern. That has to do with the remoteness of the subdivision since Glenbrook Boulevard is the only way in and out, and will be until such time as Benson Street is connected across the drainage way. Mr. Rice may can speak to this. They sent us a revised proposal back. That is being evaluated, or has been by Chief Johnson, and I've looked at it. From our perspective, we would rather see that connection made as early as possible. That would allow for the temporary access that they're proposing in phase one that runs there at the southeast corner of that property, the southeast corner of the property. That would allow it to be a legitimate emergency access when Benson Street's connected. Otherwise, even though you have the emergency access, you still have to go back to Glenbrook Boulevard to get access to phase two. I'm glad to show that, just to make sure everybody's clear what we're talking about. The emergency access is proposed here off of Old Ridge Road. Benson Street is connected, and that functions as a legitimate secondary access. Without this connected, even though you have emergency access off Old Ridge, you still have to come back to this point, which is roughly 150, 200 feet inside, off of Old Ridge Road. So you're essentially coming back to the same intersection to access the rest of the subdivision. So those are our concerns when it comes to phasing. We'd certainly like to see this connection of Benson Street earlier than later. Understand the developers' issues with market, that these lots may not be the ones he needs at this point, but from an emergency access standpoint, there's a need. That access is needed now, rather than later. Other concerns, really have to do with the earlier discussion, sketch plan about the park that's proposed to be a park in this area, connect up with Kendallbrook. The lots that would be involved are shown in a later phase. And as long as those are excluded, either by some note in the approval or just taken off the plat until we can work out a different location for a park or better understand how that will work, that would be perfect.
Which lots is it?
Our calculation, this can be roughly lots 121 through 126. If you'll recall, a sketch plan was offered that there may be a better location for a park in the adjacent Avant property, and certainly that's something we'd like to discuss, but that discussion is not taking place just yet. We don't have an alternative. They have not presented an alternative for a park that would be acceptable to us. So, those can be just left out. It appears that they are in a later phase of development.
I heard that concern right, access and what comes first is a concern, and leaving lots off of what is a concern. Mr. Gardner.
If I might, Mr. Chair, that one other concern that I believe is really being worked out between Mr. Rice and the city engineer has to do with the layout of the sewer. I'd like to see that addressed before doing the plat approval, or at least some statement that needs to be addressed to the city's satisfaction. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Gardner?
Yes, Mr. Duke, Mr. Fagan elaborated on children being in the community. What do you know, if anything, about alternative route for traffic, for construction?
And I'm not sure who mentioned a second ago, I think it might have been Mr. Fagan, about coming in through this relatively undeveloped section. If you had the emergency access road that has been required already, and then a connection to Benson Street, you could have a construction access there that would not take you through the already built sections of Glenbrook for a short time period. Eventually, you're going to have these built up, but construction at that time would be pretty much at an end or nearing the end. So think that's probably the most legitimate possibility is to come in on the southern part of the subdivision.
Okay, yes, Chief.
If we were to hold on this until that can be worked out, that would resolve the problems we have for the emergency access as well as for the current residents that are there. Is that something we can, probably make a motion to hold until we can resolve these issues?
We can, unless Mr. Rice can resolve them for us right now. Yeah, you see what our problem is?
I do.
And there are two concerns. One is that, as proposed in the phasing, we've got 2,000 feet back there to a residence for some period of time. I mean, no question, y'all have gone pretty quickly with this, and that's great, and, but we can't write that down.
Sure.
And then secondly, Mr. Fagan's concerned about traffic, and it seems like going through the front somehow resolve both of those. What's your thoughts, please?
First of all, as far as the park goes, the developer is completely aware of planning staff's request for the park property, and understands that, and Joel, I should have put that on the plans in a note, that perfectly willing to do that. We expect within the next few meetings to have an additional sketch plan, obviously, that we discussed behind this property, and with a park, with a more extensive park area outlined there. Perfectly willing to put that on the plat, that those will not receive final plat for home building sites until an additional park parcel is identified. The access point, that is kind of a interesting situation. We have a lot of issues that go involved in that. If the planning commission will remember, some time ago when we first came for Glenbrook, it was some city departments actually, requested that we didn't have that secondary access point. It was yes, sir. It was looked at as a future rerouting of Old Ridge Road, and that where right now we are showing a secondary emergency apparatus access road that was deemed to be very close to the proposed intersection of that Old Ridge Road rerouting through the property to the east. And that is one of the reasons that there is no other entrance on the Old Ridge Road from this subdivision. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that my client was fighting for that and was denied, because he was very happy not to spend those additional funds to make that secondary connection. But at the time, that was one of the facets of that conversation. So we are sitting here with a situation where we do need a secondary fire apparatus access road. Completely understand that. Perfectly willing to put that in. That lot at the top of that cul-de-sac, parallel with Old Ridge Road, has not been sold and will not be sold until such time as another north or south access point is tied into Glenbrook Phase 2. From the north, can't really speak for it, as we all know, the Pendlebrook property is somewhat distressed and tied up right now. To the south, Stone Martin Builders is working right now with the developer and property owner of the River Chase North property, and is trying to go ahead and get that secondary connection there, because Stone Martin Builders does not want that connection there. That temporary gate with a Knox box sitting on it any more than anybody else does. It will not be very attractive, and I think everybody can agree that if nothing else, Stone Martin Builders does do a very good job of making their developments attractive. So it's in their best interest to get that going as quickly as possible, and we are working on that with the southern property owner. the second access point across the drainage ditch. You know, we are in a very, very difficult economic time. You know, making those crossings are difficult. You know, we're not asking to build this whole development and then come back and make that crossing. What we're asking for is to come up Glenbrook Boulevard, make that first crossing, build, I believe, 24 lots. As soon as those are platted, come back in and head south to try to get back over to that secondary crossing. You know, I would love to tell you we could come in and put 100 lots on the ground at one time, but I don't know anyone at this point in time that can do that. And there's really no way to say that I can come in and, you know, just develop this whole subdivision in one fell swoop and, you know, keep the people that are doing this work in business. So we're asking to cross and then start heading that way and come down before we really get back there and try to finish out the subdivision. We are aware that it is needed, but, you know, we're trying to get there as we can.
And you're phasing, show us a picture of how you propose to phase it. Could you please, Joel?
I can roll out my big plans.
You can show us that.
Well, is this my revised? What we are proposing is this single section of Glenbrook to here, and then coming around this way, and then that be the second phase, and then the third phase, make this connection back. That would leave all of that and all of that and that. That would leave this part undone before that second connection, or until after the second connection is made. Essentially, what's sitting in front of y'all, swapping the seat and the heat and making that the third phase instead of that the third phase.
That's the next question. Based on how fast Stone Martin is selling lots and building houses, how long is it going to be if you get?
Based on current production, that's all I can tell you.
That's all I
I can tell you based on current estimates.
Yes.
You would be looking at, you know, less than 12 months to reach that point based on their current sales.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Hall?
What size houses are they going to be, and what
This one,
make up of?
part of the reason for having to come back here so quickly is Stone Martin Builders grossly underestimated the need for the larger homes in Prattville. Glenbrook Boulevard was put in with 85-foot lots. I think those homes are minimum, and don't quote me on this, I think they're minimum 2,800 square feet, upwards of a little more than 4,000 square feet. Is what they build on their 85-foot lots. We didn't have very many of them in the first phase. Didn't know there was going to be such a large demand for them. The majority of phase one was planned to be most of the homes that you see in the adjacent Pendlebrook subdivision. So that Glenbrook Boulevard sold like that. And City of Prattville is screaming, or the residents of the City of Prattville are screaming for additional 85-foot lots. And that is what the majority of phase two is. They are the bigger homes with the bigger lots.
Your larger homes are selling the best?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Very much so.
Sounds good.
Did not anticipate that.
Yes, Chief.
Well, I got a question, but I don't know if it's really answerable. I'm just not comfortable with this many houses being built, you know, without another means of either tying in completely. You know, if you were able to tie in down here on River Chase North, you know, then this is a mute point over here, and I would like it better.
We would too.
I'm very cautious about saying, yeah, this phase-in is fine, even with it going 1, 2, 3, rather than, you know, this being the 5th one. Without, you know, what you're saying is you're gonna put in this crossing either way.
Yes, sir.
You're saying it's gonna happen. I guess my question is, if this is selling like hotcakes and it's gonna happen, what's the problem with going ahead and making this section, as I'm looking at it, phase 1, and then phasing in the others?
Money, cash. I mean, I can,
Yeah.
I know that's
But
not
if cash
really,
dries up and this never happens, then I'm really stuck.
well, I know that's not really something that the planning commission is really concerned about, but those are the times
Yeah.
that we are living in.
Well, I understand.
That is a very, very, very expensive crossing with very, very large pipes. I think we have, can't even remember, I have to pull my construction plans. I think we have a 4 48-inch pipes running under that road right there. This is a very expensive crossing. And the first one was a very expensive crossing. We did go ahead and make it, and, you know, trying to recover some of that before we can get this second one in. That, now, I just did look, that is 40 lots. That's 40 lots with one access. That's what that serves. You would only, that's the maximum amount of homes you would have before that second access
Yes,
was up and running.
But the fire code says anything over 30 is required to have 2 means of egress or all homes be sprinkled. So from a fire code standpoint, I'm very reluctant to vote for this for that simple reason. And the fact that you have, as of yet, not secured another way out of the subdivision.
Not for lack of trying.
I understand.
This is an island of property.
Islands are the problem.
And we are doing everything in our power to work with the southern property owner and try to get them to make this connection and tie us in, because it is in our best interest by far.
Oh, yeah.
Could we, I know this is a technicality, but could we limit them to constructing 30 houses? I mean, that's just a technical way to deal with the chief's problem. But could we do that? And
Technically, the only way to do that, Mr. McCullough, is to limit the plat to that. You can amend the plat or amend your approval to reduce their number of lots to the 30. Or you could approve the entire preliminary plat and then only approve the final plat of 30. So they're going to have to bring back a final plat for you to approve before they can sell lots or build houses. So you could limit your approval at that point. So the preliminary could be approved. They could go forward with construction, but you could limit your final plat approval to no more than 30 lots until that's other access was provided. That's an option.
And that would be still with ensuring that this second connection is made for all of these.
That is on the revised plans. It is actually, it's on there.
Because that's got to be for this subdivision regardless
Yes.
of this phase.
It is now on this set of plans.
And I believe the way this is going to work in y'all's plan is that they're going to come back to you with a final, they're asking for approval for the whole preliminary. That's the construction documents for the whole subdivision. Then they would come back in these phases for their final plans. Okay, so you're basically be in a position of saying you wouldn't approve any more than 30 lots as a final plan.
Mr.
is there,
Chairman,
excuse me, yes, Tom?
this takes 6 votes, does it not? With preliminary plat 6?
Mr. Chair, it does require city.
Yes.
So if I leave now, you can't pass it.
Yes.
I'm not gonna leave.
Okay, thank you.
Call for question.
I'd like one more question. This is there some kind of financial assurance from the developer that the the front part connection does get done at some point in time? Does the preliminary plat bind them to that? I mean, I think, you know, I hope this is a
You've already
totally
made-
unnecessary concern.
You've
but
already
just-
made it a condition of the final plat approval for the first section of Benson Street. It would be phase one plat. So one B is what they say. And I do want to make sure that we're clear on this. I think there might be something there that's a little different than what was discussed previously about the reason for emergency access. Emergency access point is there not because we wanted another access point to Bell Ridge and never did look for that. It was there to account for the fact that these connections north and south that were presented, legitimate, but there's nothing to connect to yet. So that's why the emergency access is in the plan.
And that will go away.
Go away once those access points are provided. And if they were there today, this wouldn't be a discussion.
Yes, that fence that's being constructed right now, we're gonna have to stop 2 lots. You know, that's a pretty nice fence that's coming down Old Ridge Road right now, and we can't even take it to the end because we gotta leave room for that fire apparatus access road. And we would much prefer not to do that, but we do not have a choice at this point.
All right. Other questions?
Mr. Rice, you all want to
Mr. Chairman, I called.
We're still in discussion, Mr. Thomas.
Mr. Rice,
You didn't recognize me in other words.
I did not recognize you. I'm sorry.
Mr. Rice, are you all the one constructing that,
You'll not see y'all later.
Mr. Hall, please. I'm sorry that I did not recognize you. I'm sorry, we're still in discussion. I should have considered you.
Point of order.
Okay.
Call for question, had to be,
All right, Mr. Hall, call for a question. Do I have a second for that call?
don't need a second, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we'll call for the question. All in favor of having the question, please indicate by raising your right hand. Okay, we'll continue discussion. Yes, Mr. Gardner.
Point of order, Mr. One more thing. I know this is a calm and collective, but we're not going by rules of Robert's rules of order. Call for the question, calls for a vote. Does not have to be voted on to call for the question. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I do not believe that's correct.
Don't.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to admit that I don't know the exact answer to that question, and I will defer to the chair on that.
I do not believe that he's correct.
Gentlemen, I'll see y'all later.
Mr. Hall, please.
I'm not gonna go by Robert's rules of order, let's just call it off.
Well, I think there's a discussion now.
What are we gonna discuss? We've already discussed about 10 times.
Now, the commission is concerned. So, all right, any further discussion?
I had a question on the floor.
Okay.
And I was asking Mr. Rice, are you all the ones constructing the fence that you're?
Stormwater Builders is.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, call for the question. All in favor of the preliminary plat as proposed, please indicate by raising your right hand. All right, all opposed, similar sign. Okay. All right. Take 6 votes. Motion fails. Motion got some more. Get from here back. Anything else, Mr. Duke?
Yes, sir. No other items.
Okay. With that, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.